Thank you very much. Hi, Mike. Welcome to the new year. I just was wondering if you could put into your own words how exciting it is for you all to be back, especially how with things seemingly returning to a little bit of normalcy anyway.
I have to say, we came over to Rocketborg's Fieldhouse this morning, and walking in the building right away, it hits you that it's going to be a little bit more normal. The underneath stuff was the basketball court was out, which signifies the basketball's getting going, and so yeah, I think in watching TV and seeing all the baseball playoffs going on now and seeing the fans, like it's exciting. The fans make a big difference in the energy that's in the place, and to have that energy is really going to be fun.
All right, Andrew, I saw you next. You can go right ahead.
Hi, Coach. So they said you had shoulder surgery in the offseason. How are you feeling?
Well, I haven't quite had that yet. I have an issue that I need to address, and we just haven't got to doing the operation yet. So I'll keep you up to date on that one. You'll be able to tell because my arm will be in a sling.
All right, Elaine, go right ahead.
Hi, Coach. I was just wondering, you have had the first season was pandemic season that ended. Second season was kind of like a bubble, essentially, with a short season. And now this season, you kind of have to traverse with your possible upcoming shoulder surgery and having lost a player in the off season. How do you keep your resolve going? Like, how do you keep going and not just give up? And how does that translate to the other, like your players? Because you've dealt with a lot in your 3 seasons and you just keep going strong and producing well.
I think that being older helps, believe it or not. I mean, your body aches a little bit more, but I think that the trade-off for age is the fact that you hope you gain some wisdom. And one of the great lessons of life, and one of the great lessons of wisdom, I think, is the fact that you learn to control the things you can. And if you can have that in your hip pocket as a way to enter every day, it's not a bad way to live, because there are things that for all of us happen that are out of our control, and we get to decide how we react. And so we talk about that as a team. Like every day we try to seize the day in terms of coming to the rink, no matter what has happened. Win, lose, tie, bloody nose, we get to come back to the rink the next day, and we get to decide what our attitude is going to be. And if we have that kind of mindset to have that, and we control the things that we have going on in our life, probably we're going to maximize what's going on. And that's really what we control.
Perfect. Patrick, you can go next.
Sure. Thanks for doing this, Coach. Through all your years in hockey, you've obviously learned a lot, but are there any lessons or takeaways from last season that you can apply going into this year and really even beyond?
Oh, for sure. And I will piggyback off my last answer, because last year was truly probably the ultimate test in terms of controlling what you can control, because of the fact we would come to the rink, we would get a phone call at 5:15 in the morning from Tom, our trainer, saying, we pop positive, we can't go to the rink, or we were supposed to go to a trip to Chicago, and we didn't have a goalie. We were going to use one of their goalies at one time, and then they popped positive, so we never ended up even going. So I think that last year was the ultimate test, in just Bruce Lee, I think he was attributed with the fact that, or the quote about, you got to bend like water. You just got to mold to the terrain you're going through. And I think last year was the ultimate test.
Thank you.
All right, Kenny, you can go ahead, and then Mark, you can go after.
All right. Thanks for doing this, Coach. Good to see you. Looking forward to a full hockey season this year. We saw the captain announcement, the assistant captain announcements as well. The leadership group with those 3 guys leading the way. Just talk a little bit about that, especially what everybody went through last year and how you think those guys can really factor in positively for you as a coach in getting through to the players, but also for them controlling the locker room.
One of the things that this is my 35th year in coaching, and one of the things that has grown to be a key thought in my mind is the importance of leadership. It grows every year. We as coaches are in the room or with the boys maybe 10%, 90% of the time they're around each other. And you need to have those gentlemen banging the same drum that you're banging, or the same rhythm at any rate, when you're not in the locker room. And I think that, I know that we have that this year. We had it last year. Actually, we've had all 3 years here. I have been blessed. We have been blessed as a coaching staff to have really good leadership in the locker room, so that when we leave, our team is in good hands, and they carry the ball, they bang the drum, and they all march together in terms of what we're trying to get done here. So we as a staff feel real comfortable with the guys that we have in the formal leadership. We actually have something called a leadership core, which is, we will once we get going, we'll invite another group of guys to join them, and we'll meet once a month. That helps us keep our pulse on the team, and to get a broader base of leadership, so that we really don't miss anything. And that's a real helpful factor as well, because when you have that and they're all marching in step together, boy, it's one of the factors that's going to help us be successful.
What is it about Dillon as the captain, though, for this team?
You know, he thinks like a coach. If I which is a weird thing to say, but you know, the 6 inches between his ears are probably his greatest gift. He thinks the game, high level of hockey sense and IQ, but he thinks like a coach. He understands what needs to get done, and I mean, have to do. So he's an extension, and that's a great thing to have as a coach. But it's all due to the 6 inches between his ear and the hockey sense and IQ that he has.
All right, last couple. So Mark, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Mike, did you get a chance to watch any of Traverse City at all? I know you would have been there if you could have been, but a lot of excitement, obviously, and just the effect that the Blue Jackets could have sending several guys just right up the road for you. I
did not see the full games. I saw parts of games, especially the highlights. Talked to Vogsy and Mark about that. I was able to get down to training camp for a couple of days and kind of catch up on what was going on. So didn't see the whole game, but saw parts and got great reports from the coaching staff that was there.
All right, Patrick, you can jump in.
Yeah, just coach, last year, kind of that team cohesion, team bonding was a real challenge really for every team around the league. How much closer do you see that being this year to normal? And, obviously what will that bring to your team to have that?
That's an interesting question, because I actually had guys come up at the end of the year and say it was one of the funnest groups they'd ever been around. Now you're talking about during a pandemic where we really couldn't hang together. We were on 2 different buses. We did a lot of meetings that were Zoom, but I asked the young player, like, what makes you say that? And it was just when they were together and when they were on the ice playing, it was great chemistry. And it was a blend of the younger guys, the older guys, and some of the personalities that we had on the team. And one specific guy I feel comfortable talking about is Ole from last year, who's no longer with us this year. He's got to go back to junior, but Ole was one of these, young guy, great personality, was kind of a glue guy in the locker room. He just had this ability to connect people and laugh at jokes and make everybody kind of come together. So in a year where it was tough to have that, I think the personalities that were in the locker room really made it, as was stated by the players, a fun year for the guys.
Thank you.
And we'll wrap it up here. Andrew, you got a question? You can go right ahead.
So, Coach, with having a majority of the guys back from last year, does that alter how you guys prepare at all for this season?
No, actually, I would say this to you, because it's been a point of conversation with the coaching staff, is because of the changes in Columbus with their coaching staff, they're doing things a little differently on the ice. So our big focus has been making sure that we're using the same verbiage as they are and trying to get those points across to our players so that we're fluid when they get called up. I think it was one of the strengths that we had in our first year was that we had a lot of guys get called up. We were on the same page as Torch and his staff, so that when guys went up, they knew exactly the system plays that were going on and could go there and focus on just playing. So that's been our focus, is getting on the same page as Lars and his staff right now, and making sure that our system verbiage and the system play will line up if and when they get called up.
Hi. So what is it like for you to be named captain and share that history with phenomenal leaders like Zach Delpy, Nathan Gerby, and Ryan Craig?
Yeah, it's a big honor. Fortunate playing with two of those guys you mentioned, learning from them, kind of carrying on the reins that they started. I don't know, it's a great feeling, but we have a great group of guys in that dressing room, which makes my life pretty easy. Where we have so many leaders, so many guys who do things the right way, where it's not really an issue.
All right, Kenny, you can jump in.
I just asked Coach about you being named captain, Dillon, and he said you think like a coach. Do you realize that you think like a coach, or he thinks you think like a coach? And where does that come from, and how does that help you in the locker room, being the leader, as well as on the ice when you're playing?
Yeah, I think since Eber arrived here, we've had a good back and forth. All the coaches are really great talking to players, kind of bouncing ideas off each other. And over my time, I've always been a guy who might not be the most skilled or fastest or whatever, but I've had to think the game well. And I think probably that's where that overlaps. In that dressing room, try to be a guy where guys, if they have questions, you always have at least somewhat of an answer for them, and something I put some pride into.
How excited are you about this season based on everything you went through last year, not knowing if there was a season, there was the two different buses, and hopefully getting back to some semblance of normal hockey? I watched both of the NHL games last night, right? The arenas were full, fans are screaming, and it seemed like normal hockey again. How excited are you about that?
Yeah, really exciting. I think for everyone, it's been a long year and a half. Like you said, last season was strange, especially for us. We didn't no playoffs to play for, that kind of thing. But we built a great culture here last year, even without that. It was a long off season. A lot of guys put all their hard work into, and it's nice to get kind of the payoff now to get into a game here Friday and start this next season.
All right, we'll go Mark and then Patrick.
Thank you, Dylan. Just with the season starting, and Columbus may or may not send some new players in, and then you have also players like Liam Foodie that have been with the Monsters before. What do you guys as a leadership crew do to help either acclimate the new players or just make sure that some of the returning players kind of fit in with the culture?
Yeah, I think everyone just kind of expects we have a baseline, whether it be in the locker room, on the ice, as far as good attitude, good work ethic, where guys buy in right away, which is nice. I think you got a group in there that even the new players coming in, they've been great additions already, where everyone's buying into the same mantras, everyone's buying into being a team first. But at the same time, I think when you have that, it carries over to individuals playing really well and hopefully getting called up.
Patrick, you can go ahead.
Sure. Dillon, Coach has been alive or been coaching longer than most of the players have been alive. What can you tell us about him, your relationship with him, and kind of what he's like, away from maybe the public eye that, the rest of us would not see?
Yeah, I'll tell you, on a personal level, he's one of the best I've ever dealt with on a player to player. Takes guys aside. He's great to work with. He's easy to talk to. If you have questions, if you mess up, he's always there to have his players back. I think it's great, especially for young guys, rookies coming into this league. Sometimes it's an eye opener. Sometimes the start's a little rough for players. He's a guy who always, chirping the positives in their ear, always has time to talk to them, always has time to work with them. So it's been great in that sense to have him in that locker room.
Thank you.
Andrew, you can go ahead.
Hi, Dylan. So can you kind of just speak on your fellow captains this season, and Tyler Sikura and Justin Scott, or your alternates?
Yeah, great guys that I became fast friends with, both of them, as soon as I got here, and with Scotty, and then as soon as Sicky got here. Two guys that always do things the right way. They're great pros, always have a good attitude. Guys kind of, they bring out the best in other players, which is great. To have those two guys wearing the A's is set for an exciting year.
Kenny, if you have another one, you can jump in, and then Patrick. Oh, I think you're muted, Kenny. All right.
Go. Let's try that. There we go. Sorry about that. I was looking at the stats from last year for you, and the one thing that jumped out was the 23 games prior to that, 62 games, 75, 61. I'm curious about the conditioning. We've seen it in other sports where because of a shortened season or whatever with the pandemic, more players were getting injured. So what did you do, from last year to now to get ready for another full season of whatever, 70 some games, as opposed to just the 23 out of the 26 or 7, whatever you played last year?
Yeah, I think regardless of how many games you play, players always kind of put in the same amount of work. As my career has gone on, a lot more maintenance gets involved, just making sure everything, is in sync. It's obviously 76 games this year is going to feel really long after last season, where got to be wary if things don't feel right to take care of it. So for me, just stay on top of everything. Training camp for everyone up in Columbus, as training camps across the league where it was difficult. Everyone looks great, in great shape. I think that will carry on through the season. But yeah, I think more than anything, when you go from 23 games to a 76 season, just stay on top of the little things and put in the right amount of work to stay healthy.
All right, and Patrick, you can go ahead.
Yes. Every year in this league, teams kind of have to hit the reset button because of the turnover. So it may be early, but do you have a sense for kind of what the identity of this team will be, what it will look like, 10, 20 games into the year when they start to gel?
Yeah, I think just looking at us right now, I think our biggest strength will be we'll be able to roll 4 lines in 60 and not miss a beat. This is one of the deeper teams I've seen on paper. Obviously, with new guys, we'll see how well that meshes. But I think all signs point so far that everyone's, been in sync. Everyone's meshing together well in that locker room and on the ice, and hopefully that turns into a good performance on the ice.
Thank you.
All right, Kenny, unless you have another question, I think we'll be all set.
I make sure I unmute this thing. There we go. Last thing for me, Dillon. The goal every year is to win the cup, but at the AHL level, we know guys always want to get to the next level. You as the leader, I've been covering this league for many years now. When guys go up and come back, every player handles that differently. Do you need to be that the voice to some of those guys that maybe bounce back and forth to tell them that, hey, we need you still playing at your highest level. Don't drop it off just because you're upset you're coming back maybe from the NHL to the AHL.
Yeah, I think in this organization, we got a group of guys kind of in that scenario with a great head on their shoulders. They take everything in stride. They're always positive. As a leader, if you see, you kind of feel it out how guys are feeling. If they get sent down, kind of, try to keep it positive, try to keep it light. But in years past here, I can say from personal experience, everyone's had a great attitude. They know, it's not like you're going to stay down here if you get sent down. For us, for me, especially as an older guy, I want every young guy the opportunity to get called up and play. I think, it's a team first mentality. We want to win, but at the same time, we all want to see as many guys as we can make it to the NHL from this level.
Thank you very much. Hey, Justin, congratulations on being named one of the alternate captains. Just what did that mean to you? And how did the team approach telling you that you got that position?
Hey, Mark. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Obviously, it's an honor, and it's something that, you don't take for granted. The team kind of just brought us in and just sat us down and talked about it, and then kind of talked about a few things regarding, where we stood, and as far as, the team and just moving forward, things throughout the year. But obviously this is, it's an honor for sure.
All right, Elaine, you can go right ahead.
Hi, Justin. So you've been with the Monsters for 6 of the 15 seasons that they've been in existence. What does it mean to you to be such a big part of the Monsters' legacy?
Hi, Elaine. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. That was nicely put. But no, obviously it's an honor. Like I said, Cleveland, I've loved it since I got here, and obviously this is, in my opinion, the best market in the American Hockey League. The city's great, and it's going to be awesome to see the fans again this season. And yeah, no, definitely don't take for granted playing here. Everyone, even some of the new guys coming in, they were kind of a little shocked with the setup we have here in Cleveland. So no, it's amazing. I love it here, and it's fun being a part of not only this franchise, but just it seems like we always have a good team and are always competitive.
All right, we'll keep going down the list. Andrew, you can go right ahead.
So Justin, now with just a few days to go and us going back to the North this year after playing in the Central last year, does it change how you guys look at things going back to a division we haven't seen now in 2 years, basically?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be different, but I mean, I still think we play a lot of the same teams. We're still going to get the Grand Rapids in there and Rochester, and but no, I think this year will be different than last. It'll be going back to a couple of years ago where there's a game every other day, 3 games a week, and it'll be it's more fun, and I don't necessarily think so. I think if anything, the difference with this year compared to last season will just be the longevity of the year and just kind of sticking with it, there's going to be ups and downs, hopefully more ups and downs, but I think we have a very resilient group here, so it'll be a lot of fun this year.
All right, we can go Kenny and then Patrick.
Justin, Coach talked about the new coaches in Columbus and the verbiage, the style, the philosophy, and having to learn that. How do you think that's been handled so far, and is it going to be tough, having to adjust to what they're doing in Columbus with their new styles?
Right. Yeah. No, it's a lot of. I mean, pretty much everyone here was in Columbus, and the staff there. Yeah, there's a few new faces, but I mean, the head coach was with the organization before, Lars, and there's different verbiage and different stuff like that, but I think we have a lot of familiar faces as well. Letestu was on the team a couple of years ago. Trent Vogelhuber, he's definitely he's been around. He was there when the Calder Cup run and all that. So I think there's a lot of familiarity, but I also think that it's an easy transition for a lot of players, and it's they're only bringing the stuff in to help us. So I think it's definitely going to be beneficial.
And if I want to follow up on something I think Elaine pointed out, with you being in your 6th year, they put it in the notes here for us. You're 4 games shy of setting the record for most games played. The best ability, they say, is dependability, and you've been dependable. What's that going to mean to you to set that mark and be number 1 on that list?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's going to be, like I said, I've used this word a couple of times, but it's an honor. I mean, this team playing in Cleveland, like I said, don't take it for granted. And it'll be interesting to kind of, every single year you come back, you kind of get a different feel for the team, new group, all that. I mean, there's the AHL, there's always guys coming in and out, but it'll be it'll be cool, obviously. And I take pride in kind of being that every day ready to go player for the team, and that's something that I like to have. So but no, it'll be cool, and it'll kind of maybe I'll take a couple of minutes to look back and think back to years 1 through 6, but no, it'll be awesome.
All right, Patrick, you can go right ahead.
Yes, Justin, thanks for doing this. As a coach, Mike has 40, 45 years age difference with some of the players. What makes him able to bridge that generation gap and connect with players?
Yeah, well, I think that Coach Mike Eaves, he's a very personable person, and he is able to adapt to the times. I think I played with guys who he coached at school, and I've played with, obviously, for Mike, this is going to be the 3rd year. So I think he's just a very detailed oriented coach, and he also has that natural act of, he cares about every single player. And, it's nice for players, especially, the younger ones who are maybe coming from overseas, or just to know that the coach is, he's rooting for everyone, and he's a very good person. So I think it goes a long way for sure.
Mark, it looks like you have your hand up. We can wrap up with your question.
All right, thank you very much, Justin. Following your career from your time with the Barrie Colts until now, the one thing that's obvious is you've really developed as a leader. Can you speak to just some of the keys to that and how the team has helped you in that specific regard?
Appreciate that, Mark. I would just say, like, every year trying to get better, trying to add new stuff to your game. That's obviously the goal is to, and something for me that, helps me play is I guess kind of that leadership role. And it's something that I don't take for granted. And it's something that I like to be a little vocal, or I like to, compete and, go to war with the guys and stuff like that. But I would just say every single year, just trying to get better and trying to, adjust and learn. The game's getting faster. It's a different style almost, it feels, every year. So it's kind of, it's a fun little thing every summer to sit down and look at, how you're supposed to train and how you're supposed to, get better, because it's very competitive.
Hi, Tyler. So you are fairly new to the team. You started halfway through through the year last year because of how short the season was. What does it mean to you that the team looks at you like a leader already, like right off the bat?
It's a tremendous honor. It's something that, going through trials and tribulations of pro hockey, you don't necessarily think that when you're a call-up guy or going back and forth that you're going to be somebody who's, established, and, you're just living day by day and trying to stick around. So, to come in here and to be shown so much respect by the staff and the players, it's such an honor, and it's something that I don't take for granted.
All right, Andrew, you can go ahead.
Hi, Tyler. So there are a lot of returning faces to the club this season. How does that help the team, and especially you in your leadership role with the moving of the divisions this year?
I think it's a tremendous advantage, especially in this league. I'm looking at our roster, and I'm not really seeing very many weak spots at all. From the goaltenders out, we have depth at every position. We've got some top guys, and we've got some veteran leadership, and it just makes it easier when, the guys that are here, the guys that have been around, like a guy like Scotter and Simmer, when, they bring it every single day. Everyone can kind of follow those guys. And I think we're going to have a really good squad. I'm excited to get going.
Kenny, you could go ahead.
Tyler, looking at the stats from last year, and again, it's weird seeing 29 games as a full season, but last year was what it was. And I mentioned this, I think, to Dillon about conditioning for this year. You're one of the leaders on the team. You led the team in goals scored last year, and right up there in points in that. So they're counting on you not only to be a voice in the locker room, but also production on the ice, and it's a 76-game season. I'm just curious, how do you handle all that pressure, especially going from a shortened season to a full one, as well as all that other stuff?
Well, it's one of those things where I try to look at everything as an opportunity, and try to look at the positive side of things. So being an older guy, I've gone through the 76-game seasons. I've gone through the ups and downs, working your way into the lineup, working with not a whole lot of ice. And so I don't take it for granted. As I said earlier, I'm not expecting to be given anything. I understand that it's my job to show up and produce. And if it's not me, then, there's a really good player that's looking to jump in right behind me. So I think that internal competition is something that a lot of organizations are going for. And, we definitely have that here. So it's a long season. Try not to worry about if this guy gets called up, this guy's hurt, what does that mean? I just focus on myself. I focus on being the best player I can be every single day. And I think that's the thing that helps the team most.
All right, Patrick, you can go ahead.
Yes, Tyler, thanks for doing this. What makes Dillon a good choice for captain? From what you see as a teammate.
It was pretty much a no-brainer. He's one of the more put together guys that I think I've ever met. He's in charge of the scheduling. He's on top of everything. He likes that control, and he's a guy that everybody just respects in the locker room. I think when you see the way that he plays, he's hurt if he's banged up. Doesn't matter. Once the game time starts, he's giving it 100%. He's been around. He understands, his role and the magnitude of it. And, he's a heck of a player in his own right too. So, I think all those things come together and, the tenure that he's been here, it was really a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Mark, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Tyler, can you just talk about how different Columbus camp was for you this year, the new coaching staff, new style, things like that? And then what takeaways would you be able to take from that camp that can help you back here in Cleveland?
I didn't have a reference point because of COVID last year. I didn't go to main camp, so it was all a new experience for me. But I have been to a couple camps in Chicago, and I can kind of speak to that. It was nice that the groups were a little bit split up at the start, and you could kind of skate with some of the top guys and kind of measure yourself up to that. I think everybody after the first day or two was kind of saying that that's some of the hardest skating that we've done in practice. I think Lars is going to really emphasize pace and compete level. And, pace is something that I'm continuing to work on, and something that, in today's game, you really have to be able to get up and down the ice in a hurry. But I'm also trying to play to my strengths. And I think that smarts and compete level and versatility are things that I can bring to the table, and try to use my experience of going through camp, not getting too worried about if you're on this line or you're not playing this day. Like I said, just bringing it every single day and letting the chips fall where they may. I'm excited to have that NHL contract this year as an opportunity to get called up, and I'm going to do everything I can to do that.